Hi everyone, this is Danny Hartung with my module number 1 personal introduction project. So to start off, a little bit about me. I'm originally from Plainville, Kansas, and I went to Kansas State University to compete in track and field and earn my undergraduate degree in communication studies. But then I came back to Northwest Kansas where I now live and work in DeMar, which is a very tiny town northwest of Hayes. My husband and I both serve in our consolidated district, USD 269. I'm our fifth grade teacher. This will be my second year, and he is our K-12 PE teacher. When we're not teaching together in the same district, which has been a dream of ours for a very long time, we both love to coach or play competitive sports. And then I also love to sing and read books and go hiking and camping in the mountains. My favorite movie ever is Mean Girls, which I know is another conversation in and of itself, but hit me up and we'll talk about why it's the smartest movie um, of our generation and why Tina Fey is an amazing role model for women everywhere. My why is the amazing students in our district. So this why is not just for why I'm taking this class, but why I am working so hard to finish my MSc, move from my limited apprenticeship license to official licensure in the state of Kansas, and become the best teacher that I can be. This was just so solidified for me when I started to get to know students in our district as students, as athletes, as people, and they have just really pushed me on those days when I felt like maybe it was going to be too much. They are just so amazing and they have such great potential. And even though our numbers are small, they are incredibly important and are going to go on to do great things in this world. This year is going to look a little bit different for everybody. For us, we're starting in person as of next Thursday with a three-phase flex plan that will allow us to move to hybrid or entirely remote learning as deemed necessary by our county health officials. So we're working very closely with them to do what is safest and best for our students and be flexible with that decision-making process. Personally, I feel much more prepared than this time last year. I was very, very nervous for my first year of teaching. And this year, even though I do still have the butterflies for the first day of school, I've implemented so many new ideas that were kind of gaining traction in the spring when unfortunately we had to shut down. But I'm very excited to be putting those into practice this year, and I feel a lot more prepared with digital resources, a lot more online learning so that my students can independently navigate some of these platforms and learn to the best of their ability in a differentiated way. I'm also going to be implementing student-led conferences with the digital portfolio on the Seesaw platform, so I'm very excited about that. And I'm very, very excited to be graduating in December and to have my first semester in the spring where I don't have my own homework and I just only get to give homework. That's going to be great. And no on roller coasters. I don't know if anyone else is feeling this way, but I just wanted to make mention that my frustrations with COVID look different every single day. How I feel about it looks different every day. But yoga and dancing and music have been a great stress reliever for me. So I'd love to know when we do our comments next week, I'd love to know what everyone else is doing for self-care as we move into this new school year. The three types of mindsets that we studied this week from More in 2017, all students can learn. Teacher collaboration is much more important than isolation, and happiness and optimism are essential for teachers and teacher leaders to be successful in their districts. I agree with all of these things. Students should never be counted out because their class sizes are small, they've underperformed in the past, or somebody told them that they didn't have lots of potential. All students can learn. It's a matter of how we differentiate our instruction and use best practices to meet them where they are. Teacher collaboration is huge for me. I have had great mentors in my district that have collaborated with me and helped to sharpen me as an educator and a professional. And they have helped me to find my happiness and my optimism, which has been so appreciated. So I agree that all of these things are essential for educational leaders to be successful in their roles. The five types of dispositions are confidence, being a risk taker who's decisive, having a sense of humor, being empathetically assertive, which I take to mean taking other people's feelings into account while still maintaining those boundaries and expectations in the workplace, and to be a continual learner who keeps learning all the time about things that are going on in the field, with using data to make decisions and being steeped in the research so that we can be well educated when we step into our roles, whether that's in the classroom or the office. The three types of practices are focus and prioritizing, examining feedback and data, and emotional intelligence. It's important to prioritize goals, which is something that I have been challenged with over this year to really zone in on what's most important and focus on those things. And I think we've also done a great job of that in the state of Kansas with our Navigating Change document from our state level Board of Education. They have narrowed down the standards to these competencies and the grade level bands that will allow teachers to focus on what's most important and essential for our students. The data is already available, so it's just a case of where teachers and teacher leaders need to be more educated on how to use that data and how to analyze it and use it in effective ways. And then emotional intelligence, of course, is essential as well because we want to be able to know what's going on with the teachers around us, maybe that we manage or that we work alongside, so that we can help to prioritize their feelings and also make sure everybody's on the same page. The 8 principles of ethical leadership. I agree that all of these are entirely something that we should be keeping sort of in our repertoire as educational leaders or striving to become educational leaders in our districts. Personal courage is huge. We need to be able to stand up to unfair policies at any level. Keep public interest, which public meaning student first, families and stakeholders next, in front of our own um, selfish desires or visions for our career. Self-control, self-discipline, and integrity are important just as professionals in any field, so that we can lead through example and consistent standards, making sure that we are holding ourselves to high standards as well as everyone else around us. And then task and employee centeredness helps us to create equitable environments so that students have the highest chance for success. These are all great things to be keeping in mind as we move toward educational leadership. We also need to recognize talent without playing favorites. So we're rewarding hard work, but showing that that's really the standard for receiving this reward. We should require ethics from everyone around us, including stakeholders within and outside of our school families, out extending on into the communities that we live in. Using sensitivity and understanding so that all stakeholders know they can contribute, but we also believe in them to succeed. And inclusiveness, where we foster a community environment in which stakeholder voices are valued as well as our own within the school. I use these standards of ethics or principles of ethical leadership, pardon me, in math in my professional career. I always teach my students that there's an important mindset that we use, especially in math. My students know that I do not like the word can't. We use a growth mindset where we maybe say, I'm not good at it yet, or I wish I was better and I'm going to work toward it. But I also always use this yoga analogy where I say, in yoga, we don't just do yoga, we practice it. Every single time you step on the mat, you practice. And so we say that same thing in math. We don't do math, we practice math. I also try to recognize the talents of my students and differentiate instruction discreetly without singling anyone out or showing preferential treatment, either for students who need remedial help or those who are ready to be pushed beyond the grade level standards. And in doing so, we try to create a family atmosphere for everyone involved. In reading, we do novel studies, sort of like a book club, so this helps create that community. These standards that we're learning about in this module are very much about community building and creating an environment in which everyone is set up to learn successfully. So I'm sensitive to reading level challenges, and we differentiate in our book novel studies, but also we do that on a building level and a district level with our MTSS groups. And something that our district does well is we also share those aha moments with our community members and stakeholders via social media. My room for improvement is I'd like to build a more confident disposition and not let this imposter syndrome that I really struggled with last year get in the way of my success as a teacher and bringing that success to my students, because I know that they can tell when I'm nervous, and I want to make sure that I'm presenting a confident persona so that they can learn from that, and that I can model that for them. I'd also like to initiate more collaboration, both formally and informally, in my district. I'd like to work together with some other classes. I know we're restricted with that a little bit this year with COVID, but I know that something that I can control is that I can catch teachers in the hallway, just have informal conversations with them and pick their brain and learn from them as well. And I'd also like to be more data driven, which is a huge part of my plan for this year. All of this supports the educational success and well-being of the students and adults in my area, because for my students, I'm encouraging risk-taking through example. I'm modeling reasonable risk-taking, which is hugely important for students who struggle with confidence themselves, and I'm communicating to them that they are always capable, I always believe in them, and that they can learn. We're also, again, focusing on that community, focusing on that environment piece to put this vibe out that all stakeholders are valued. We trust them, we'll support them, and we expect the same in return. And this increases our credibility in the community, both when we are steadfast in our expectations and standards as a district, and also when we're able to sort of laugh at ourselves and use sense of humor to create a trusting atmosphere where everybody isn't fearful of making mistakes. The NELP Standard 2.1 focuses on creating those professional norms. So if we have all these good things in the mix, integrity, fairness, trust, equity, and we put all those things together, we are inevitably going to create an environment in which everyone can succeed. So it's asking us to be intentional and reflective on these practices so that we can move forward and continue to model them sort of as second nature. This correlates to the standard, this project correlates to that standard by helping me to understand the explicit work. I'm an action steps person. I want to know exactly what I need to do in order to accomplish a task. So in order to meet this standard, these are the things, these are the principles, these are the dispositions that I need to keep in mind. This is relevant because it helps me to focus on prioritized characteristics. I'm also a prioritizer and a list maker, so I want to know what things are the most important for me to focus on for professional development and personal development in order for me to effectively lead. And this project also helped emphasize and make more clear the importance of relationships and culture. Sometimes being an achiever can mean that I focus on results and that I don't always put relationships first, which is something that I'm working on professionally as well, particularly when working with young people. This is so important to create an environment in which they feel safe and trusted and capable and competent. And that is what I strive for every single day. There's a link in my references section to this screenshot here of those NELP standards that really helped me to dive a little bit deeper and understand what it was that we were to be focusing on. And here are my references. So thank you so much for listening. That is my thoughts on module number 1, my personal introduction, and I can't wait to hear what everyone else has to say about mine and about their own thoughts regarding these standards.